Welcome to the Money Healing Club podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Duncan. I'm a financial therapist and art therapist, and I founded the Money Healing Club. You've come to the softest place to land in personal finance, where we talk about all the things we don't usually say when we talk about money. This podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. For help with your particular situation, please seek help from a licensed mental health, tax, legal, or finance professional.
Hi, Rachel. I've got a question for you, or really something for you to explore in the podcast if you can. A definite money feeling I get in times of stress is money is stressful. We're trying to do a house renovation at the moment and sending large amounts of money sometimes. And with a lot of these things. And sometimes the bank is, because they're larger payments, is like temporarily stopping those payments and looking into it. I know they're concerned about fraud and stuff. But anyway, it's really, really stressful. What money gets lost in inverted commas in the ether for a short amount of time. And then my brain goes into absolute panic, thinking, catastrophizing, thinking through all the worst stuff, just having a horrible time. My rational, logical brain tells me that I've done nothing wrong, that everything's fine. And I know that's true, but I definitely feel that stress in my body, just generally everywhere, and feel super uncomfortable until the matter's sorted. So yes, if you can give me any advice about how to deal with such things, that would be amazing. Thanks so much. Bye.
Okay, first of all, I totally hear you. I have been there, from buying a home, selling a home, doing a remodeling. This particular experience with money when it comes to house stuff. It's very real. It's very stressful. I think it has its own sort of emotional quality and experience. One thing is the amounts of money we're dealing with, like, it almost feels fictional. I mean, it does feel fictional, but it's also not fictional because these figures are very real. So the stress is real and very normal. I think we're also often making these massive decisions really quickly with a ton of pressure, as well as very little control over the process. I think dealing with house stuff is very different than the way we would say, hey, I want to make more coffee at home instead of going out. Like, that's something you have more control over, I would say. And the stakes just feel huge. Like, it's your home and you love it and you don't want to live in a construction zone anymore. But at the same time, you're not an expert in plumbing or framing or origination fees and all the bank jargon. So, yeah, it can feel like you're faking it. That itself is stressful. So, I've been there. It's a wild ride. It's like, okay, cool. Now I get to hang out in limbo in my worst case scenarios in a situation I don't totally understand, but I'm already 100% committed to. And when it comes to real estate, what I have found is this very rational impulse to even go against your own financial interests just to get it done. There's a lot of tension there. So in today's episode, I want to walk with you through a framework of understanding what's happening in these moments within your mind, how your nervous system is trying to protect you, and how to respond with more self-trust, a little less panic, in a way that honors all of the things that's going on inside of you. And I'm so glad you asked this question because it brings up this certain type of money stress where one side of you says, it's probably fine, trust the system. But another side of you is completely spiraling out. That is so real. First, I want to kind of back up and say, like, this isn't just you, the banking system, all of this financial systems. It's kind of how it works, and it sucks for those of us who are on the customer side. So as you understand already, when your bank holds a payment, that kind of thing, they are trying to protect you from fraud. But they are not protecting your nervous system, right? You're sitting there knowing you've done nothing wrong, but your money is locked up. It's in the ether. You're wondering, will this project ever happen? There's risk, maybe the loan won't get approved. Your sense of safety, poof. And don't we all wish the bank was like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to investigate this. We'll be in touch. In the meantime, go take a yoga class. Let's all take a little side quest and envision a new type of banking system. But anyway, I digress. Something I'm always keeping in my mind with my own money story and when I'm working with clients and club members is when we talk about money, all roads lead to safety, security. So anything that is sort of affecting your access to money is actually affecting your access to safety, even that feeling, okay? And so that's why it triggers a big response, especially when it's just out of your hands. It's really dysregulating, it's really disempowering. It also is a fact of life of the system right now. Point number 2, stress makes you want to do something fast. That rush to act, that is your body trying to break the tension, to get to resolution, sort of no matter the cost. Maybe you're, speed reading the fine print, sending frantic emails, maybe moving money around, just feeling like something is happening. It could be rippling out into other parts of your life just to get a sense you have control over something. And I think the system sort of thrives on that discomfort. It thrives on you, not hang on, can you tell me what this paragraph really means? I often make hasty decisions to get out of discomfort, so it's something that I'm actively working on all the time. Sometimes that rush to safety actually creates more stress because you're just kicking the can down the road. So one thing to ask yourself is, am I feeling alone here? I'm wondering if there's someone else in your life, not part of the bank, who does know something about lending or renovations, who can help reality check with you. Could there be someone in your life who could help you ask better questions to the banking system? Is there someone in your life who can help you craft questions to your lender? You don't have to do it alone. You are allowed to gather a team and ask for help. This is this little aspect of financial activism. Okay, number 3. Now we're going to dive into your parts and how they are trying to help you. So first I want to do a quick introduction to internal family systems, or IFS. So IFS is a therapeutic model that sort of sees your inner world like a map with all these different parts in it. It was developed by psychologist Richard Schwartz, and I have found it incredibly helpful in money work and really all things personal development. So imagine you have a whole team of parts inside of you, and each part has their own style of protection. And that style has its own logic to it. Some want to control the situation with no emotion. Some want to numb out and not feel anything. Some are sounding the alarm no matter what. Some are keeping you from feeling pain. None of these parts are bad, but they are all 3-dimensional personalities. They're not, no part is just one thing. Each one of them, they feel their job is to keep you safe in the best way they know how, but they all have very different ideas about what that means. So the goal isn't to banish your parts. It's actually to build a relationship with them. And this is the process we call unburdening, where your parts don't take on more burden or responsibility than they should, so that they can actually work more cooperatively with you and with each other. So at the center of all these parts, if we think of all these parts as a map, the center of these parts is what we call the essential self. It is sort of the eye of the storm in this map. And what's amazing about this framework is while we all have very different parts, totally individual for each one of us, the ways we describe our essential self are remarkably universal. This is the calm, compassionate, creative, patient, clear-eyed part of you. This is the part that leads with creativity, curiosity, and courage. Even as I say these very powerful words, I want you to feel that part in you. Maybe take a breath. Where is the part that feels like the pillar? Your best self in the middle. Okay, this essential self is the most important part of your mental health. To get in touch, to step into that essential self energy as much as possible. Because what can happen is the parts might think that they are running the show, right? They will sometimes confuse us to think, oh, that is who I am. But really, they are just a part. So you'll see in this languaging, we're going to say part of me feels like this and the other part wants to do that. We even use that in how we talk, like in everyday language. So just notice that. This is the type of language we're really going to amplify. So we have the essential self. All of our other parts tend to be categorized in three different categories: managers, firefighters, and exiles. I'm going to talk today about the managers and firefighters because they're the ones that are the loudest. They're sort of the first ones we work with. So we all have manager parts. And I'm wondering, for this listener, this person who left the voicemail, you have a manager part who is working really hard to stay on top of everything. It might be the part that really respects the banking system, might be a little differential to that. It wants to be good at this and it wants to be non-reactive. Managers tend to want to tamp down fear and other strong emotions to keep you kind of on track. This idea of, if I organize it, everything will be okay and safe. And that's not entirely wrong, is it, depending on the situation? So I want you to do a quick body scan and just identify, where is the manager part living in my body? The part that wants to manage this and does not want to feel the strong emotions about it. And often we can identify some part in or around your body where it's living. And as you identify it, what's that part up to? What does it look like? What sensations come up? You can ask that part, how does it feel about the other part that is freaking out? You can ask this manager, what is it like to be noticed right now? Just noticed. Just noticed and accepted. Could you let this part know? I see how hard you're working. Thanks for looking out for me. To take it a little further, if this feels comfortable, you can ask it, what is this part trying to protect me from feeling? Let its answer just come to you. There's no wrong answers. Could you let this manager part know that I'm safe enough now to feel some of these things? Let it know I can handle some strong emotions. It might disagree. It can disagree. It might not agree. That's okay. But it is listening. Let it know we love it for listening. You could ask this part, what would it be like if it didn't have to watch out for everything? You can pause here if you need. Let the conversation settle. Let it know how much you appreciate how hard it's been working. And also let it know that you can handle quite a bit more emotion than it might think. Let it know that emotions are an important source of knowing for you. They're important information for you to make decisions in this world. And that it's not the manager's job to avoid or tamp down those emotions. That you, essential self, can handle it. But we need this part to read the fine print, to sit down with a spreadsheet to say, hey, I just need an hour to get organized. That's so important. We need that part to just do that part. Ask it if it would agree to this. Now, I'm just giving you a little mini taste of what an IFS type dialogue would be like. Any of these questions are for you to take or not take, everything with a grain of salt, of course. And now, as we close the conversation with the manager part of you, let it know that you've loved talking with it, you love seeing it, and you'd like to give it a chance to do the things it would really like to do if it didn't feel responsible for everything. And go let it do that. Now, when this part feels closed and complete and is off doing the thing it really wants to do, recenter yourself. Remember that eye of the storm. We're going to identify what we call in IFS the firefighter part. Firefighter parts are often the part that jumps in when things feel unsafe, right? Think of a firefighter's coming and splashing water on the situation, no matter, how wet everything's going to be later. Our firefighter parts tend to catastrophize, but not in a way to scare you, but to prepare you. Like, firefighter parts are sort of like, if I imagine the worst, I won't be blindsided. Firefighters really use intense emotions as important information to get you out of a situation or have you react to a situation in the moment to keep you safe. It's all about in the moment. Basically, any ramifications is someone else's problem. We are dealing with stuff in the moment. This tends to be the more impulsive part of us. So you can ask very gently, where do I feel this part in my body, in or around my body, this firefighter part? What does it look like? What is it up to? What does it feel like? Give it a moment. Let it be noticed. It could be a shape, a character, just a feeling. And as it comes into view, let this part know, I see how hard you're working. Thank you for trying to protect me. Could you ask this part, what are you worried might happen if you take a break from your job? Take in its answer. Let it know that you're here right now and you're listening. That we can just hang on a minute. Let's try to understand all of what's happening here. That you'd like to practice responding instead of reacting. We love being in touch with our emotions. There have been times where we have reacted in the moment and it has been a deal breaker, just so helpful. But in this moment, you actually have a lot more safety than this part might realize. Let it take in this information. While you're at it, ask this part how old it thinks you are. And now let it know how old you really are. You might even add, guess what? I'm a grown-up now. Now, parts are kind of funny when they get updated about how old you are. Sometimes they don't believe it. Sometimes they're really excited. But it is often new information. A part usually believes that you are the age that you were when this part came into existence. So you just update it. I often say to my clients, let it know you are a grown-up. Sometimes parts react with a big sigh of relief. Like, oh, finally there is a grown-up in the room. I thought I had to be the grown-up. Let it know, no. I'm the grown-up in the room. Let it react to that. Let it take in an update with this new information. Take some breaths with huge amounts of gratitude for how overworked this part is, trying to protect you, trying to sound the alarms, trying to think ahead into every catastrophic scenario. It's an important job. But it's one that now you want to do with it. That you are going to respond now instead of immediately reacting because you are a grown-up. You have a general sense of what keeps you safe and how this world works. And that actually these ups and downs are quite exhausting. It's not helping the whole system. Ask this part what it would like to do if it didn't feel responsible for responding to everything bad that might happen. Just imagine, what would this part like to spend its time doing? It might like to do the kind of thing that a kid its age would like to do. That's often the case. However it answers, hear it, love it, and take some breaths as this part goes and does the thing it would love to do if it didn't feel burdened with the job it was doing for you. You might want to pause this recording and let these two experiences integrate for you. I would also encourage you to turn to art making or journaling about any of the visuals or sensory experiences that came up for you. So to kind of pull back out to the outside world with this feeling of, hey, we all have lots of parts. I have so many parts that all have their own logic, right? It always makes sense at the time. They all have very different ideas of how to keep me safe. And they kind of came into my life in times where I needed that type of reaction. I needed a manager to get the thing done, feel like I've got it handled, be a little more intellectual, and not be feeling. Or there's been other times where I needed to just react or catastrophize because that was actually really what needed to happen at the time. All completely logical. I think in pop culture, we talk about like devil angel, but it's really not that. All of our parts are correct in their logic. And we do need those different forms of being, right? We need those different types of reactions depending on the situation we're in. So we acknowledge them. We let them know they are seen and respected and heard. We also let them know that we are now a grown-up and that might be new information to them. That we say to the manager parts, I appreciate you looking out for me and organizing things, and I need that sometimes. I am also capable of feeling feelings. And then we say to the firefighter parts of us, thank you for helping us react on our feet, because sometimes we really need that. But I'm going to practice more on responding than reacting to look out for my future self. And when we develop this, what results in the IFS model is become more self-led, where this eye of the storm that we've been speaking from becomes the leader for your internal system, where these parts now turn towards you instead of fooling yourself that that is you. You are not actually a firefighter. You are not actually a manager. You are you. You are that eye of the storm, and they work for you. It takes some time, and it takes getting to know each of these parts, and they shift and they change, and sometimes they're not cooperative, sometimes they're fully cooperative. It really just depends. But it's a really marvelous inside-out framework that can have great effects on how we react to financial situations, as well as IFS is used in all forms of mental health treatment, by the way. If that's a framework that you like this kind of internal, almost like hypnotic line of inquiry, look out for an IFS informed or trained therapist. One little tool you can remind yourself. In this moment, a part is feeling unsafe, but I'm not actually in danger when I look around. There's one aspect that is maybe triggering something from my past, but if I look around, I'm actually okay right now. Even just naming what's happening can start to bring the volume down for any part and have them look to you, that part of you that is compassionate and curious, patient, and also like doesn't put up with bullshit. Okay, so in summary, this stress response you're feeling, it makes so much sense, right? Money is always tied to safety. And I can really see how different parts of you would be reacting very strongly because it's such a different way of reacting to money and interacting with money and making decisions about it. So I really get that. Your parts are doing their best. They just have very different logic about what the best thing is to do. And you don't have to shut them down. You can just get curious. A little planning ahead can help future you just feel more supported. You don't have to be alone. You can bring in some people who are not from the banking industry to be a sounding board. Am I crazy about this? Could my project be canceled? This is the stuff that the firefighter part of you is wondering and sounding the alarm about, which might be very good questions. Okay, so let's respond to them instead of reacting to those questions. You're not crazy for spiraling. I don't think you are, but I just want to say, this sounds really stressful and I've totally been there. Look, if you're a human being that's dealing with a high stakes money moment, you are doing your best in a system that forgets that you have a body and a backstory. So let's bring in your community, even bringing it to the club if you would like to join our membership. This is the kind of thing that we support each other with, including real estate woes. You are doing great. I would love to hear an update about how the project went. I'm guessing by now it might be complete. And I'm just wondering how that roller coaster might have resolved. And as you think back, what you might say to that self of yours from just a few months ago who had all these parts sounding the alarm bells and competing and arguing with each other. Where are you now as you look at this experience from a place of your essential self? Thank you so much for your question. Thanks for listening to the Money Healing Club podcast. You can find resources, links, everything from this episode in the show notes below or at moneyhealingclub.com/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, you probably really love my free email course on curbing impulse spending with compassion and mindfulness. You can check it out at moneyhealingclub.com/challenge. Do you have a question or a topic about financial therapy or about just living in this life with money? I'd love to get your voicemail to be featured on a future episode of the podcast. Check it out at moneyhealingclub.com/podcast. You'll see a big orange button there where you can record from any device you're on. You can also be anonymous. We are in this together, and I really appreciate it. See you next time.